What's up, everybody? This is Mr. 100K a day here with another video with 100K Paralegal Services. Today, we're going to be talking about Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk, the white man that got smoked just a couple weeks ago, spent his life, spent his career pandering and, fanning the flames of racism. Today, he was criticized about an hour ago on Twitter. And this was a post. Maybe it was a repost, but this was a post by track and field legend Carl Lewis. Carl Lewis, we all know him be one of the greatest athletes of all time, great long jumper, amazing sprinter, world-class sprinter back in his day, 9-time Olympic gold medalist, multiple world championships, gold medals at the world championships. He posted this on Twitter. He said, at the end of the day, Charlie Kirk was a mediocre white man who dropped out of college, then found fame in convincing other mediocre white men who dropped out of college that minorities and women were chosen for jobs over mediocre white men because of who they were and not because they were more qualified, worked harder, and or finished college. That's his legacy. And no amount of tears or phony social media videos posted by random people on the internet will change that. Now, this is a very, very, very poignant post by such a public figure such as Carl Lewis. Let's not forget, he's currently the assistant coach or head coach at the University of Houston track team. University of Houston track team. He's a public figure. To make a post like this at a time in the United States where people are left and right, teachers, comedians are being suspended, being fired, being laid off, or whatever the case is, just because of their opinion about, the death and the life of Charlie Kirk. This was a very, very bold statement to repost on Instagram. Very bold. Carl Lewis has a complicated legacy himself. A lot of people had suspicions about his sexuality. A lot of people haven't liked some of the outspoken statements that he's made about the drug culture in track and field. And a lot of people have found Carl Lewis to be, a little aloof, a little distasteful in some of the statements he's made over the last 40 years or so. Actually, more than 40 years. After his performance at the 1984 Olympics, where he equaled the great Jesse Owens' feat of obtaining 4 gold medals. A lot of people, shunned Carlos, felt like he was arrogant. He had made some statements that he would be bigger than Michael Jackson. He tried singing. He tried a lot of things. He put his hands on a lot of things, and a lot of things he failed at. But one thing he never failed at was getting people stirred up and performing in track and field. So he made this statement. A lot of people are already thinking this statement. He didn't say anything. He didn't post anything that we all haven't said already. Black people who are in tune with the culture and with what's going on in society know that Charlie Kirk was average. He fanned the flames of racism. He got off on doing what a lot of mediocre or below mediocre white men and white people do in general. They find themselves in the middle of nowhere, no skills, no real talent. And they know that in the climate of America, you can make a living off of, speaking negatively about minorities. Black people are a very easy target because of the history, the complicated history, and because of the way a lot of blacks are portrayed in the media. White people can basically ignore their own situations and their own problems and their own culture and point the finger at blacks. It is a very easy thing to do. In the same way they're doing today with Mexicans. They can point the fingers at Mexicans for a lot of problems and crime and things like that. Not realizing that Mexicans and, they only account for a small percentage. Well, when I mean Mexicans, I mean illegal Mexicans, illegal immigrants and Mexicans. They only account for a small percentage of the crime. So when a situation happens, whether it's in California, Missouri, or Florida, and it's an illegal Mexican or illegal immigrant that commits a crime, the media blows it up. Illegal Mexican. Keep putting that in people's faces. Guess what? When a person looks at themselves in the mirror and realizes they suck at life, have no skills, have nothing to offer, they can always look down on something that they've been hearing for the longest. A minority, a person that's an immigrant, or anybody. And that's just the way it works in the United States. So the things that Carl Lewis said about Charlie Kirk, I believe, are very right. Now, with the death of Charlie Kirk being so raw and people are very sensitive about it, especially people on the right, I don't know if Carl Lewis was right for making these statements at this time. It is very risky for a man to do that. I personally feel like if I'm in a position of authority, I'm a teacher, I'm a coach, I have things going on, I have things to lose, I have endorsements that I could potentially lose. I'm not going to come out and put my foot in my mouth, even if the things I'm saying are true. That's just the world in which we live in. You either can exercise your First Amendment right and get blackballed and lose everything you have as a result, or you can shut up, just speak to your family and your close associates about it, maybe at home and in the comfort of your own home, and just keep moving. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to move the needle. You're not going to convince people who love Charlie Kirk that he was mediocre, that he was a racist or anything like that, because they're going to look past all those things. So, it's my opinion that Carl Lewis probably should not have said this. I believe there's going to be some backlash. He may even get suspended. They're going to find a way. And besides, he's in Texas. Texas already just expelled a few students. Some of the Texas programs, they found a way to fire teachers in Texas. It's just not worth it for a person who's in the public eye to come out and speak evil or speak negative about Charlie Kirk right now. Even if everything you're saying about him is true, it is simply not worth the risk. It's not. Now, we'll see how far this eventually goes. And we'll see if people decide to hit the school up and start messaging the school, emailing the school, and doing things like that to try to get Carl Lewis fired. And I suspect they will. I suspect they'll try. I just can't see them going against everybody else and just ignoring Carl Lewis in this situation. But, also, it's been almost 30 years since Carl Lewis's, last Olympic glory. And last time he participated in the Olympics was 1996. So he may be so old, being in his 60s, that a lot of people may not even pay attention to the fact that he may have even made this comment, that he even posted this on Instagram. Some people may just look over it and just say, hey, this is nothing. Nobody cares. But in the climate we are in today, with the way the right is pushing a bunch of BS agenda where they themselves want to censor people's First Amendment rights, I believe that this is going to blow up. But we'll see how things turn out. Now, let me just remind you guys, I'm not for the left or for the right. I'm completely neutral. I'm independent. But I do believe Charlie Kirk was a bigot and a racist, and he fanned the flames of racism because he was untalented. He didn't really have anything to offer. He didn't have solutions. That's one of my biggest problems, when he did a bunch of, race baiting, and he never really offered solutions that, can really be implemented from a government perspective. You want to work with the government. You want to have all these people behind you as far as the politicians go, but you never have been known to bring any type of real legislation or real regulations or any type of real solutions to people in power where we can address a lot of things going on in the community, except fanning the flames of racism. Is the whole thing he ever did. Now, that's how he really could have been, changed his legacy. And he'd probably be alive today. If he brought solutions instead of just sitting around fanning the flames of hate and racism, I am willing to bet my bottom dollar he'd be alive today. So, that's a different conversation. We'll talk about that some other time. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Was Carl Lewis out of bounds for posting this comment or reposting his comment? Regardless if he posted it or wrote it himself, was he out of bounds for a college track coach, a college track and field coach, to post something like this? Tell me what you guys think. Till next time, this is Mr. 100K. Mr. 100K a day. I apologize. Getting tongue-tied. Mr. 100K a day. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys comment. Make sure you guys, if you guys have any questions, comments, suggestions, hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up on Instagram. Till next time, y'all. I'll holler. Peace.